Hello, viewers, and welcome to Shaping Generations, a program designed to align you with your God's divine purpose. I'm Dr. Simon Muwowo. See you after the break.
Welcome to Shaping Generations with Dr. Simon Muwowo.
Today I want to continue in our series, Questions God Asks Us. And today I'm addressing a question, what is your name? So if you were asked what your name is, how can you say your name is? It's very easy in today's world for someone to unconsciously say, well, my name is Simon, without paying attention to the meaning of the name. In my native country, where I come from, Zambia, in certain parts of the country, what happens is the name that is given to you explains the events that surrounded your birth. And from there, a name was given. In many other cultures in the world, it is the same. Today I want to read from Genesis chapter 32, verse 22 to 32. And this is about Jacob wrestling with God. That night, Jacob got up and took his two wives. He had two wives. His two female servants and his 11 sons. And he crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" Jacob answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of the Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. What is your name? This is a very interesting question about a name. The history of Jacob is that his life was full of struggle. When his mother conceived him, he was not alone in the womb. They were two. And at birth, when the birth attendants were there, they wanted to know who was going to come first. And Jacob held on to the heel of his brother. First of all, it's like he appeared to be the first, and the women thought, oh, he's coming first, but he actually came second. So the name sometimes would mean that touch the heel. So events started happening in life. There was Esau, his brother, and there was Jacob. And I think the two of them did not like each other very much, especially with Jacob over his brother, because his desire was always to be the firstborn so that he could receive a blessing. The firstborn child received a double portion of the blessings of the father. So Jacob was in that land all the time. I'm making it very simple to understand. That's why I'm not putting in all the names, and just to reduce that complication on the subject. So fast forward, Esau went out hunting, and when he came back home, he came back hungry because he didn't kill any animal for his food. So he asked his brother Jacob and said, can you give me something to eat? And then he said, well, my brother, if you want something to eat, we have to make an agreement. We have to agree on one particular thing. You have to agree from this day forward that you will be the second born and I'm the firstborn. Interesting. So he says, hey, Esau, just acknowledge that I will be the firstborn. That is, and then his brother, because he didn't pay attention, he didn't know where Jacob was coming from and where he was targeting at. And Esau just said, hey, I don't care. Just give me food. You can take whatever you want. And Jacob took it serious. Now there came a time when their father Isaac, who was blind at the time, sensed that he was dying and he needed to bless his firstborn son. And so he calls him and he says, Esau, I'm about to die and I need to bless you. I need to bless you as my firstborn son. And Jacob heard about that. So you go out, prepare me a meal, let me eat, and I will bless you during that. So when Esau went away, Jacob went behind, prepared some food, and then he disguised himself like his brother, because his father was not able to see, he was blind. Goes there and said, Daddy, I have brought the food. And the man, I don't know what happened to the man. Because he suddenly said, well, when I touch, okay, your body feels like it's Esau, but your voice is actually Jacob. But anyway, I will bless you. So he blessed him. That was the beginning of everything. And not long, his brother appeared, and then Isaac says, I already blessed your brother. It's over. And the bitterness entered their home. Jacob ran away to live with his uncles for 20 years. After getting married, he wants to come back with his two wives. He wants to come back home. But fear is still in his heart. Much as he has a blessing, he was not free. Because even the blessing that he got out of deception. There are many people in different situations. Even the status that you have it because you robbed it from somebody. You have a status, you probably did not even achieve anything. You found your easy way to finish your grade 12 or A levels, even out of corruption. and you have lived a life of deception from time and again. And this is what happened with Jacob. Even if he had prospered, even if everything was going well, he lived with a guilty conscience every day. He said, even if I am blessed, I stole this blessing from my brother. And such a guilty conscience can destroy. You can have everything, but not be happy. And so, on his way going back home, he realized that he needed to be put right with God. He was afraid of his brother. He said, well, if my brother sees me, he is going to kill me. It wasn't the intention of his brother, but he was afraid because he knew that he was the one who was on the wrong. And I guess when we are in such a situation, our guilty conscience just captures us, just captures you. You are eating something, but you say, but well, I'm just a thief. I just stole it from somebody. No freedom, no liberty at all. So then Jacob identified a man. And I don't know his mind or his discernment. He identified a man and grabbed him. And he told him, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Now, he didn't know if no one can understand the mysteries of God sometimes. How did he identify him? And how did he just grab him? Because when he saw him, he grabbed him and they started wrestling. And then he said, man, I will not let you go unless you bless me. After many hours of such a fight, the man asked Jacob, what is your name? This is very serious now. I'm already familiar with somebody, and then I ask him to bless me. Then he says, what is your name? And the situation here says that Jacob's name had a negative connotation as one who was a deceiver, one who lived in deception. So in other words, he was saying, who are you? Look at your name critically. How were you given the name? So he remembered the events. He looked at his life. Everything was all deception. What is your name? Jacob, he answered. For the very first time, I can imagine Jacob not answering in a strong voice that he may have had. Because the deep meaning of his name sank into his heart. Oh, I am a deceiver. So how can you as a deceiver begin to seek a blessing? The question arises. You are living out of deception and you want a blessing on top of deception, of sin. Then the man said, well, you have told me your name now, and you have spoken, you have confessed. Now, let me just explain that in detail. Sometimes we fail to name our weaknesses, our sins. Look at yourself. Who are you? Just to say, I'm a sinner, it is a problem. And that was the situation with Jacob. Who are you? In other words, if he wanted to use a clear word, he says, I am a sinner. I'm a man that doesn't do anything right. So before you can receive God's blessing, God is asking you to acknowledge your weaknesses. Acknowledge your weak points. When you come to a point of realization, then you have the blessing of God. So immediately Jacob came to a point of realization about his name. Then the man said, before I can bless you, I am changing your name. Your name will no longer be called Jacob, which means deceiver. Your name will now be called Israel, meaning God will fight for you in every situation. Because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. This brings me to the reality of the gospel. That if we claim to be without sin in 1 John chapter 1 verse 8, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. We live so much in sin, yet we keep saying, no, I'm all right. How are you? Everything is all right. It is well with my soul. But you do not even experience the freedom of what your lips claim to be. The Bible says again in 1 John chapter 1, verse 10, if we claim we have not sinned, we make him out to be a liar, and that his word has no place in our lives, making out God to be a liar. For we have fallen short of the glory of God, and upon confession can be justified freely through the redemption which was brought by Jesus Christ. Sin, my friends, is lawlessness. John puts it very clear in 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. He says, everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness. When it's like things are not wrong. Good morning. How are you? I am fine. I like it when it's the kids. If a child is very sick, they are in the hospital, all they know how to answer is fine. How are you? They are in pain and they say, I am fine. That's the only answer they know. They won't say, I'm not feeling fine. It's I am fine. We need a heart which is conscious to our being. Our hearts can be so stubborn that we can end up kicking God away from our own lives. When Jacob acknowledged his weakness, his weak point, he received a blessing. When you acknowledge your weak point, God will bless you. And God will lift you and will raise you beyond what you can ask, think, or imagine. A name tells all about our identities. We introduce ourselves by our names. My name is Simon, because we want to be called by those names. We should be proud of the names. We should be proud of who we are. But if we are not proud of who we are, something is wrong. We should not be proud to be a people that live in sin. We should be a people that are always searching for truth. The psalmist David in Psalm 51, he said, create in me a clean heart, O Lord, and put the right spirit within me. We have a challenge today. And the challenge is the renewal of our minds. Sit down and think about a situation in your life. Think about yourself. And as Paul writes to the Romans in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 2, he says, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, for this is your true and proper worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but rather be transformed by the renewal of your minds. And then he says, then when you do this, you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, perfect and good will. Sometimes we fail to test God's will and to know what God's will is. Why? Because we want to conform to the standards of this world. And as shaping generations, what we are saying is that we need to renew our minds, transforming our hearts so that they can be aligned with God's will. Let God begin to move again. Let the world begin to live by God's standards, rising above our weakest points. In doing so, the name of the Lord will be glorified. Amen and amen.
Thank you for watching Shaping Generations with Dr. Simon Muwowo. We would like to hear from you. For prayer and counseling support, do not hesitate to contact us. Our email address is info@shapinggenerations.com. You can also call us on WhatsApp 709-567-2915 or visit our website at www.shapinggenerations.com and fill up a prayer request and counseling form, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, God bless you and Shalom.